Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy CL Anthony and my main man, Bryce Ward, who looks like he's at a loss for words already. What's up, Bryce?
No, I'm just glad to be here, bro. I'm in a good mood. How are you doing?
Living the dream, my man, living the dream. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it today because we have some movement in the NBA with some standings here. If I was to tell you that the Memphis Grizzlies, since getting their ass handed to them by the Golden State Warriors, have won 9 straight games, what would you say?
Usually a good ass whooping from someone you want to beat kind of sparks the fire in you, so I believe it. Also, I did see the poster that Ja threw on that man last night, and it was filthy.
Yes,
Did you
it
see the
was
clip?
filthy. I saw the clip, and I'm still trying to figure out how his back kind of like bended back and then snapped forward. I don't know how that.
Dude, I'm telling you,
happened.
the other night when I saw the Magic play them, it was like a week or two ago, and we lost to them again, but the way Ja can like bend his body, even like I saw him go down the lane for like a Euro step or just a regular drive, right? The defender couldn't do anything because he was still deciding where he was going to like whip his body to next. And I was just watching it and I was like, this kid can do anything he wants. It's amazing, really.
Right now, the Memphis Grizzlies are the hottest team in the NBA, but they are still second in the Western Conference because Denver is on a little 5-game winning streak themselves. So the top 4 teams in the West are all on winning streaks. Denver at 5, Memphis at 9, New Orleans at 1, and the Sacramento Kings, I'm gonna beat my chest on that all season, are at 3. I do want to give a shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are at 7. And the Golden State Warriors have finally climbed out of the play-in. They are at 6th. Bryce, what do you think about the Western Conference? Because, again, no one saw Sacramento being in the top 6. We saw the other teams being there. We did not see Phoenix being in the play-in. What's going
on? I think, well, Chris Paul was also out for a while with Phoenix, and now Booker's going to be out. So they can't seem to get healthy at the right time. But maybe, too, it's partly without those guys consistently there. The rest of the league is kind of like maybe figure out how to deal with them because they've been like regular season darlings, but they haven't made the biggest splash in the playoffs. So maybe some of these younger up-and-coming teams, like there's just not enough room for Phoenix, and other teams have maybe figured them out a little bit more. The Pelicans, I can't remember what's the last thing on Zion. Is he going to be out for significant time, or is he what's going on with him?
He's still out.
Yeah,
that was going to be a 2 to 3 week injury. So yeah.
So maybe they slide a little, but the Kings, I think the Kings will stay kind of put because I think they're going to stay this good all year. Like I kind of feel like they're hitting their stride more so than ever now. So I don't see anything going on. Memphis, my only problem with Memphis is because of how they talked and how they've gotten dealt with just by Golden State. Like this isn't their year to make it to the finals, I feel like, because you got to go in steps. And if they have to come across Golden State, I would pick Golden State for that series this year, especially if Steph and Clay are healthy. Because, yeah, Golden State climbed out of the play-in, and they did that without some of their guys consistently healthy all year. But now they're back. Clay looks like he's back to almost his old self, or at least good enough for them to win games. So I suspect that I don't really see them losing spots. The Warriors. Denver's just doing what Denver does, so they might not lose that top spot. This is kind of set. The Lakers are in trouble because Davis is still out. Clippers could make some movement, and Utah seems to be kind of where they're going to be. Like they're playing good, but they can't always beat the best teams. It seems like.
Yeah, they definitely settled. Yeah.
The play-in tournament is going to be very exciting in the West. Mm-hmm. That'll be fun to watch. I mean, are there any surprises here or any movements? You think anybody could lose their playoff spot and fall into the play-in?
Not right now. I think the top 6 in the West is pretty much set because I think we don't know when Booker's going to come back, but I think Okay, here's the deal with Phoenix. They're on year 3 of their experiment. You know how I feel about that. 4 years and that's a wrap. They're in year 3 of it. I don't think anyone fears Phoenix. Like Phoenix doesn't scare anyone, and I think that's the problem they're going to run into. Yeah, regular season, fine, we get it. Yeah, we get it. But the ghost of Luka shitting on them last year in the playoffs is still there, and the entire league saw that, and they let one man run through them. So other teams who are more stacked, even more than the Dallas Mavericks, are like, we're not afraid of these guys. They're soft. So, and there's still a lot of infighting going on with Phoenix too. So yeah, no one's afraid of them. So right now they would play Utah in the one play-in game. Yeah, they would probably get through Utah, but then they would have to go through, if the play-in started today, the winners of Minnesota and the Clippers. I can make the argument that both Minnesota and the Clippers are tougher than the Suns. So,
it's crazy that they're in the finals just a few seasons ago, and now to see their trajectory compared to Milwaukee's, who's kind of looking to go back. So it's almost easy to see now how Phoenix was able to lose those finals the way they did, because they are soft, and now they've got exposed by the Western Conference too. So yeah, it's interesting.
They have never recovered from that. Speaking of the Milwaukee Bucks, I just have to give the 3-time NBA champion Miami Heat a shout out for winning back-to-back games against the Bucks this weekend. So shout out to my Miami Heat for doing that. God bless you, Jimmy Butler. God bless you, Bam Adebayo. Now we're going to go to the Eastern Conference. Things are getting a little tight. So we're the top 6: Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland's dropped. New York's been hovering around 6. But now when we go into the play-in, you have the Heat, the Pacers, the Hawks, and shockingly, the Chicago Bulls have crept back into the play-in, okay? The Bulls they've actually been on a losing streak lately, but Toronto hasn't done them. Toronto's been falling off, right? So Toronto was holding that last spot. So, because I know we kind of trashed the Bulls a few weeks ago. My question for you is, because from position 7, which is where Miami is, to position 4, to where Philly is, there's only a difference of 3 games. The Bucks at 3 are only a half game ahead of Philly. So from 7 to 3, there's only a 3.5 game difference. Do you think the East is going to start separating at all, or do you think it's going to stay like it is?
It's going to be, I think some of these teams, including ourselves, some of the fans of these teams, they're going to be kind of nail-biting until the end of the season, because it's not like without injury, which could, of course, happen. All these teams have kind of been playing the same level of basketball all season, and with the way some of these Eastern teams are so scrappy, they do steal wins from the better teams. I've seen it. So this could drastically change in a month or two, honestly. Right. You get a couple of hot teams that go on a streak, I know like Brooklyn's not really one of those teams that we talked about, but Kevin Durant going out could be a big deal for them after a couple weeks go by, right? So, I mean, an Embiid or Harden or one of Cleveland's guards go down, or Julius Randle gets hurt, any of these things happen, and one of these teams could slip. Miami gets healthy at the right time, or Atlanta seems to get things together at the right time. Any of that could happen with so few games in between everybody. It's come down, I think, a lot. We talked about this last year, but tiebreakers. You're going to have to win the season series, and some of that might make or break some people's season, or at least the spots, So I'm excited. We said from the beginning it was going to be a dogfight, and the East is like the ultimate dogfight right now. It's very exciting. Even, the Bulls, they seem to string together, like you said, a couple good wins there. Zach LaVine had a couple good stat lines. I did see, though, one game they lost. Zach LaVine missed his shot. And Vooch is standing over there on the 3-point line with his hands up, because LaVine was basically, I think, triple guarded at least, or something like that.
He was.
And I get it. I get LaVine wanting to be the guy, but you gotta make that pass if you're gonna be the guy, if you're like that stacked on. I
Mm.
think like making the right pass is also is important. But yeah, it definitely still seems like they might have some locker room issues, but they had been playing a little bit better. What's very interesting too is like even outside of the play-in, how many games back are Toronto and the Magic from hopping in the play-in, because they're practically right there too.
Well, Toronto,
Oh,
excuse me.
Washington, I meant.
Speaking of the tiebreaker, so the Bulls hold the tiebreaker over Toronto. That's how the Bulls were able to creep in. Now, Washington are only a game behind the Bulls. The Magic are only looks like 3.5 games back. 3.5 games back. So the Magic are 3 games out of the play-in. Not bad for a young, scrappy team. Let's just say that. Not bad.
No, but Toronto's the real threat there in terms of
Right.
maybe taking one of the teams out soon.
And to put things in perspective for the Magic, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may be wrong. I don't care. I know I'm close. The Magic won like 22 or 23 games last season. They're already at 16 wins this season. So the Magic are on pace to eclipse their wins, their win total from last year and kind of hit that 30 to 32 wins that we predicted they would be at. They're actually on pace for that. They don't have to win, 16 more games and they're there. So the Magic
And they're actually healthy. So they
right,
might hit that point. If they would have
right.
started off the season that way, I would say
Mhm.
at this point, probably for sure.
Right. So the Magic can definitely, like I said, they're right now they're only 8 games out of surpassing their win total of last year. So that's definitely a big improvement right there.
Yeah.
As far as streaks in the East, of course, Boston has the last 10. Boston's 8-2, Brooklyn's 8-2, and Miami is 7-3. So those are your streaky teams in the East right now.
Nice.
All right. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. Bryce, you got a chance to visit the one-time G League champion Lakeland Magic the other night.
Last night.
I know you were excited to see Mr. Jonathan Isaac on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how he looked for our fans in Orlando.
Well, I had to miss the Wednesday night, the first appearance he had with the Lakeland Magic. I had some like prior engagements, but I wanted to go. It's so close to my, like, literally it's almost in my backyard. It takes 5-6 minutes to get down there. So went and checked him out last night, and I was reading, some of the Magic Twitter podcast guys. I was like reading some stuff about them in preparation to Wednesday's night game too. And just like the expectation and the excitement for this guy is pretty cool to see, honestly. Like I had kind of not written him off, but in terms of like how I see our team right now, I just wasn't considering him a factor until he could make it on the court and put in some minutes. And that's not a knock on him. It's just like, do we have an asset or do we not? And I never had any issues with what he was doing during the rehab or how he focused his time. I knew if he wasn't on the court or if the Magic didn't have him doing something, then it's none of my business really. So I have no issues or qualms with Isaac or, whatever it is off the court. But I will say, since he's been getting closer to actually getting back on the court, he's been rehabbing, he's been doing 5-on-5. When I found out he was going to be actually playing some minutes for the Lakeland Magic, I got excited for the first time in like 3 years, or however long it's been since he got out, because he was never like going to be, in my eyes, some primetime scorer. But at the time, the Magic were in a weird situation. They hadn't done the Vooch trade at first, that none of that had happened yet. And I was excited about him then, just as an NBA prospect, playing defense, being a good team guy. And to have that back, or to see that guy almost getting back, I'm excited. And so what I saw, like, I didn't have much expectations for him in terms of points, rebounds, minutes. I didn't know what they were going to set a limit for on him in terms of minutes. We saw it was basically 15 minutes Wednesday night. He had like 15 points, 7 or 8 rebounds or something like that on, I think, about 50% shooting. And then last night he had, I believe, off the top of my head, like 14 points, 9 rebounds on more or less efficient shooting. And as I saw him take some shots and stuff, I could tell that the want was there and like his form was there, but maybe just the rustiness of being in game activity might, have thrown him off. Either way, I never saw him much of like a shooter or an offensive presence, but he was getting to his spots, he was getting the ball, he was doing nice turnaround fadeaway pumps, like everything looked good. So in the time that he's been hurt, if he's been working on a shot or working on some other stuff, that would just be a bonus. But the most promising thing was just him getting in the paint, playing active defense, but putting bodies on people, bumping up on people, jumping, forcing people out. I mean, boxing people out, jumping, grabbing rebounds, or putting up an offensive rebound, dunking. The physicality, especially on the G League court, where there's like maybe two other guys that was close to his size, because he was just about the biggest dude on the court, I'd say. He he wasn't shying away from any contact. He looked better than I was expecting. And so I'm excited for him to get back with the Orlando team. The Magic have a problem with sometimes with intensity or effort on rebounding and defense. Now, when they're on point, they're fine. But Isaac's the kind of guy that can bring in and brings a big presence in just being on the court with those aspects. And also his mentality has a leader mentality. So even if he's coming in with a bench unit or whatever, his minutes I feel like are gonna be valuable. Now, like I said, even to get back to the NBA, that pace and that endurance is going to be a little different. But so far, it seems like his timing, his instincts, all those things are still there. And if he's not afraid to bang with people like he wasn't before, I think he's going to come in. And like I said, I think he's going to add valuable minutes. How many minutes this season and what he does, I don't know. We'll see, because I don't know if we have to figure that out this season other than just get him healthy and on the court. I don't think he has to be a big piece this season, but it's very exciting, and it was fun to be there last night to witness it. And I took a picture. He got over on the bike because he didn't start the game. He came in. I don't even know if it was the first quarter yet. Might have been. I think so. But he got warmed up on the bike. I took a picture. I was like, look, Isaac's warming up. I was excited. It was the first time I was legit excited in like a long time for Isaac.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was fun to see.
I'm happy that, a lot of the fan base are excited to see him finally getting back on the court. And like I said, I predict he may be back with the team after the All-Star break.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that think could be wrong. They think he could make his appearance next Friday against the Knicks. It's like going to be one of our first home games back, I think. And based on how they did, I think it was another player earlier in the season or something. I can't remember, but there was some reasoning behind. There was some speculation that it could be next week. Whether that seems rushing or not, at this point, I don't think anything seems like a rush. But right. I'll definitely be watching that game, whatever game he comes back on. I won't miss it.
Got it. Absolutely fantastic analysis on Jonathan Isaac. So the other day we had a conversation offline about the top 10 NBA players in the league this season. So we're going to continue that conversation here this morning because, of course, you guys need to hear what we talk about offline. So me and Bryce compiled a list of the top 10 current players in the NBA right now, and we are going to attempt to rank them without killing each other. So the players that we have on that list are Nikola Jokic, Luka, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Stephen Curry, Joel Embiid, Giannis, Ja Morant, SGA, and Kevin Durant. Now, here comes the fun part. Bryce, let's rank from 10 to 1.
Okay. 10 to 1. Are we talking in terms of like the way it would be an MVP race, how valuable they are to their team and the league, or are we saying just one player above the other? Period.
Just one player above the other. Period.
Mm.
It's tough. So we'll alternate. We'll
Ja,
alternate picks. You got
Ja
Ja
be
at
my
10.
10. Yeah.
Ja at 10. Wow. Wow. Okay. So I will go with SGA at 9. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He has like the greatest name in the NBA right now.
It is pretty nice.
It's a gorgeous name.
This one's tough for me. I'm gonna go because I have a feeling on who you might go next, but maybe not. We could be on different pages. I'm gonna say Jaylen Brown.
Okay, Jaylen Brown. Bryce had to fight for Jaylen Brown to be on this list because I was going to go with Paul George, and then we looked at the numbers. And then
All you had to do was look at the stats. You're like, never mind.
I've loved Paul George for the entirety of my life, so you know.
Ever since you scared your little Heatles.
He did scare us. He really did scare us. Okay, so now shit's about to get real. I'm gonna go with Jason Tatum.
Should have been Curry.
I'm going with Jason Tatum, goddammit. But just to recap, we got Ja at 10, SG at 9, Jaylen Brown at 8, Jason Tatum at 7. So now we're getting into the top 6.
That's Curry.
Stephen Curry. All right, not Steven. It is Stephen Curry at 6. Okay, so top 5. Who do I have to choose from? This is like us drafting, right?
Phoenix fans are going to be annoyed that Booker's not on this list.
Booker soft, sorry.
Yeah.
All righty. We are going to go with Embiid.
Okay. So now we're top 4.
Yep. So you have Jokic, Luka, Giannis, and KD left.
Jokic.
Jokic?
Mm-hmm.
Shocker! All right. I'm going to go with Kevin Durant.
Okay. Luka.
Shocker!
Also,
kind of surprised me.
No, because I think Giannis is the MVP.
You really surprised me. Oh, that leads into our next conversation. So let's just go down the list again. Ja at 10, SGA at 9, Jaylen Brown at 8, Jason Tatum at 7, Stephen Curry at 6, Joel Embiid at 5, Nikola Jokic at 4, Kevin Durant at 3, Luka Doncic at 2, and Giannis, I am not going to butcher his last name, at 1. So I am very shocked by a couple of your picks because Jokic would have been my number 1 pick. I am shocked by that.
So far, he hasn't been able. They've had some good playoff runs. They haven't won anything substantial. If they'd won something, I'd probably put Jokic higher than Luka.
You're right. I thought it was going to go Jokic at 1, and then Luka at 2. So you got the Luka one right, but yeah, and I thought Giannis would have been 3rd. Okay, all right.
I thought maybe because Embiid hasn't been the most consistent, I would have swapped maybe Tatum and Embiid.
Oh yeah. All right. So now we're gonna talk MVP, and I'm gonna pull some stats up in a second because to me this is a two-man race, but we're gonna see what we have. Pull this up. We're going to go with Jokic first, since Denver's leading the West right now. Boom. So right now, Jokic is averaging 24.9 points a game, 11 rebounds, and 9.7 assists. He is damn near at a triple-double for this season, okay? And You said you would go with who? Who? Oh, Giannis. Okay, so let's look at Giannis. All right, 1 second.
I might have to change it. That was before I looked at Jokic's stats. But I'm going to hold strong for at least another few seconds.
He's gonna hold it down. He's gonna hold it down. And just to be transparent, I didn't look at these stats beforehand. All right, so Giannis is look at that smile. Giannis, 31 points a game, 11.9 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. Now,
I'm sticking with Giannis.
Just for shits and giggles, only because Tatum is the leading scorer, the best player on the best team in the Eastern Conference. Let's put his numbers up in comparison.
We have to look at Luka's after then too.
That's fine. So Jason Tatum, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4.3 assists. Not a bad smile. I still don't like him. All right. And
why are you hating on Tatum? Is it just because the rest of the league likes him so much?
Then we're going to look at Luka. Did you say something? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Did you say something?
I know better.
All right. So then we have Luka at 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 8.8 assists. So to me, and this is just me only, to me, Luka's disqualified. And the only reason why I say that is because his team is currently 5th. I give Jokic an edge because he is on one of the leading teams in the
Right.
Now, it gets tricky. It gets tricky in the East between Boston and Milwaukee because Boston's the leading team in the East, but Milwaukee's right there at 3rd. We can make the argument that Boston still has a few more weapons than Milwaukee, which is why they have a slightly better record. Giannis does more on a night-to-night basis than Jason Tatum. So that's my disqualifier for Jason Tatum. Now, what's your argument for Giannis versus Jokic?
Basically, like, I know Jokic, he stuffs the paint, and like he's a defensive presence, I guess you could say, right? But to me, what makes Giannis the best is his ability to control and take over a game. And that means on the defensive end as well. Jokic, for as good as he is, he's not going to run down a player and block him from behind. Like the kind of plays LeBron James and Giannis have made at like times when the other team is popping off at the right time. Their best player is popping off, and then out of nowhere, a giant comes from behind and stops them. Jokic can't do that. There's only a couple guys. And Giannis does it on both sides of the floor. He's won a championship. He's already won the MVP. He already knows what it takes. He'll just step up his game. The more and more they need him, the more and more he has stepped up. And to me, having all those accolades already, I kind of see him in higher regards than Jokic. So to me, Jokic kind of has to prove even more to me. And honestly, the scoring total is a little low for me for MVP, not for Jokic. On top of, even though they're first, like I said, they haven't won anything yet. And so that doesn't really mean anything this year for MVP. I get that. But I hold Giannis in very high regard. And so if we're talking about best player too, I think Giannis is the best player. So that's why I go with him.
Got it. I go with Jokic, and that's a great argument for Giannis. There's no wrong answers here. Like anybody who gets it between those two are great. But I go with Jokic because Giannis is as physically dominant of a player that I've seen since Shaq. He can dictate the game by his physicality, like you said, on an offensive and a defensive end. Jokic is more of a fundamental basketball player with his skill set. I think with that Denver lineup, everyone being in and out of that lineup, including him this year, and he's still putting up those numbers, and they're still the top team in the West. I think it's phenomenal. And as you know, I'm a triple-double whore. As you know, I am. I will always be that. Will always be that. Thank you, Russell. I love you. I will always be a triple-double whore. And just looking at Jokic, he's 0.3 0.3 assists away from being averaging a triple-double. As a big man, by the way, I think that's super impressive. So I can't remember the last time, and forgive me, I'm getting older, so my memory is fading. I can't remember the last time we saw a 3-time MVP. I'm going to guess and say it was Jordan. We may very well see it. This might be your first time seeing it. Three consecutive in a row MVP, which is.
I will say though, I agree with you that I think they will give it to Jokic this year.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that. I'm not so sure unless he goes on a tear, which he could. Giannis could still get it. I don't think he's going to.
Right. I'm pulling up the list of MVPs right now. Bear with me because I want to see when was the last time we had a 3-time. Interesting. Very interesting. So the last 4 years, Giannis has won 2, Jokic has won 2. Before that, Steph won 2, LeBron won 2 twice, Steve Nash won 2, Tim Duncan won 2. I'm talking about consecutive. The last time, Michael Jordan won 2, Magic won 2, Larry Bird. That's it. We haven't seen this since the 1983 season through the 1986 season when Larry Legend won 3 consecutive NBA MVP awards. It has been a very long time.
Funny, that's like one thing I also never knew about him. I was like, no one, not even Jordan did that. That's crazy.
So I'm going to give you the list. There's only 3 players that's done it. Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird. That is disgusting.
It really is.
Now, Magic won 3 out of 4, but, that's still, it wasn't 3 consecutive. Michael didn't win 3 out of 4, no. LeBron won 3 out of 4 at one point.
Kobe never got one?
Kobe only has one. He
One?
only has one. He only has one. And Shaquille only has one, which is robbery, but it's okay. Okay. We're not going to talk about that.
We know.
I do want to close out the podcast this week by talking about my candidate for Coach of the Year. I doom coaches, but it's okay. But I'm going to give a shout out to Mike Brown of the Sacramento Kings because Mike Brown got a bad rap, even when he was on Cleveland and they got rid of him and whatnot. But he did win Coach of the Year in 2009 with Cleveland, which was ironically LeBron's last year there. But now he's in Sacramento. He had a stop in Los Angeles. It didn't go well. Now he's in Sacramento. Along with Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, they have completely changed the culture there. He's my pick for Coach of the Year. Even if Sacramento stays, they're in the top 4 now. Even if they stay within the top 6, I think they are such a surprise to the league right now. I don't think there's another choice than Mike Brown, unless they just totally tank the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to Mike Brown because he is right now my mid-season Coach of the Year. So, any last thoughts, my man?
No, I think I'm good. Covered some interesting topics. I think I'm good.
Of course, we always do. So once again, we just like to shout out our fans of the Hardwood Nation and fans of the NBA worldwide. Continue to give us those likes. Continue to drop those comments. Continue to share, like, and subscribe our content.
Please.
We love you all, and we are out.